Got record. And yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Okiki podcast. And today I have an amazing guest. Her name is Cheryl Nembhard. And not only does she inspire me as someone going after her passions, but she inspires me as a person of faith as well. I first heard her at the Sisterhood worship night, and I was mind blown by her presentation. I
Mind
really
blown.
was. She's just such a gifted speaker, and she has just a natural way of really communicating the love of Christ even throughout our journey. So thank you so much for being here on the Okiki
Mm,
podcast, Cheryl.
I'm so excited to be here, and I was so honored to have met you and connect with you a little bit while we were in Saskatoon. This is just the beginning.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
The honor is definitely mine. And I wanted you to, tell us about your journey because I know it touched me so much. And I know the people listening to my podcast will get so much value just from knowing you and knowing your heart. So, can you tell us your journey and the season of your life that kind of brought you to finding your purpose today?
Yeah, there's a phrase that I always use that says, I don't look like what I've been through. And I feel like that's the place that, I'd love to see in my heart every person get to, that they don't wear their pain,
Yeah.
that they have come through on the other side, stronger, better, closer to God, more resolved. And so that's kind of my journey right now, is that I'm on the other side of it, but I definitely don't look like what I've been through. You're looking at someone who's been sexually molested for an extended period of time as a young child. And with that pain, and I always love to teach this, if I may, I was a very broken, very traumatized, you can only imagine, young
Mhm.
child. And I did not speak about it. I did not share the horrible, dirty secret. I felt a lot of shame around it, which is very common and normal,
Mhm.
but wrong, because
Mhm.
the shame wasn't mine to carry. It
Yeah.
was nothing I had done. And so, with all of this, pain that I was carrying, what compounded it
Mhm.
was the not sharing, was the silencing, was the
Yeah.
bottling up of all of my emotions. And I
Mhm.
always say pain left unchecked, unresolved, unworked through,
Yeah.
it manifests, it shifts, it morphs into anger. And so
Mm.
many times you'll see a direct connection. Some really angry people in your life are the most broken, most wounded. And
Hmm.
so that was me. I was, and hurt people. And so I
Mhm.
became quite violent and angry, and joined a gang at 13 and gang banged for 3 years, and was just doing a lot of self-destructive behavior, because
Mhm.
I just didn't care anymore.
Mhm.
And at 16, unfortunately, I suffered an assault from some members
Mhm.
in my gang, and that really spiraled me. That took me on a loop for about another 3 years,
Mhm.
and from about 16 to 19, I was on and off the street and running away and back and forth, and just really self destructive. Got into drugs and alcohol, was making wrong choices, suicidal, depressed, like just a wreck. And, I was actually witnessed to or reached out to by a community worker, someone
Wow.
who, what we would call an urban missionary, who feels like their mission field is just like, the hard streets, the ghetto, the tough places in every province or town or wherever we live. And so this person made it a point to go to all the rough areas, and felt really drawn to me, and felt a call, a deep prompting or leading, if you will, to not give up on me. And I'm so glad that they didn't. Yeah. So
That's
because of that,
beautiful.
I'm standing here today. And so in a nutshell, and that's just sort of top level, but I turned all of that around, the drugs, the alcohol, the suicide, the, you know, I've been even like abortions, like horrible choices that I made, turned it all around and dedicated my life to reaching out to the very same people that I once was. Because I think sometimes we are, sometimes we are called to what we go through.
Hmm.
And that's a big thought there.
Yeah,
I
it's
just got, I
very
was like,
profound.
mhm.
You got to quote that.
Mhm.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. And yeah, just so many good points in there, and how we can carry our shame, especially when something has been done to you that we think it's like ours to carry, like our I don't want to use the word fault, but like almost burden, like our responsibility to carry this. And so I love how you kind of walked us through that. And so, yeah, and then you had an encounter with the Lord, and you felt like, okay, I know this, like I know this experience. I can also help others who are in this experience. Um, but like we see Cheryl today, and we see who you become, and this leader, and all these amazing ministries that you're running. And
Right.
honestly, looking at you, I would never know that you've
Yeah.
gone through all that. So
Yeah.
I guess my question is, for some of the people listening who are like, wow, that's
Mhm.
amazing. She can go from point
Mhm.
A to point B, and she's doing so well now.
Mhm.
How did she get there? How,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
did you
That.
actually heal?
Yeah. Because it's very easy to say like, oh, I made it out. Yeah. Like how? There are people that are in it right now that are like, how did you do that? Number one, God. Number one, the love of God reached out to me, um, literally restored me and healed all of the brokenness in my life.
Mm-hmm.
um, and finding community through the church that I had stumbled into, literally stumbled into, one Sunday night, after finally saying yes to an invitation to just like come to a church and hear good music and be uplifted. And I was like, no, 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 no. Finally saying yes, I went. And that was the beginning of my life. That was the start, the restart of it. And I never looked back. And so I would say connect. And this is a good sort of short list for people that are broken or maybe feeling stuck. Reconnection to God is key. It's number one. He's the source of joy and love and peace. And if you need some of those things, it's like a gas station. It's like a fueling station. If you need fuel, you go to the fueling station. If you need love, you go to the source. Who is the source of love? Well, the Bible says that God is love. And so I ran to God. And then being around community, God's people, um, feeling like family, being loved on, like being like gently poured back into and letting my walls down, learning to trust people. But then the third thing, which is the key thing, which took many years, was deep emotional healing.
Mm-hmm.
And that can take many forms. It looks like therapy. It looks like a group sessions. It looks like um, maybe a narcotics group. It looks like recovery groups. It can look like gathering with a group of people and really like doing life together and having an accountability group. Like I'm not good today and I feel like I want to use today. And like I've had all of those different kinds of groups in my life. But the most life changing of all was being willing to go on a deep emotional healing journey with God. And so by doing that, by digging in and literally surrendering and saying, you know what, I white flag. I've tried it many ways. I'm done. You take over. It was like God was like, great. I've been waiting. Could you just move out of the way? Just to the right, please. Thanks. And just jumped right in and took me on this incredible journey. And all of the learnings, all of the healing, all of the work, the shedding, the releasing, I've been able to sort of encapsulate it not only in my ministry, but in a particular program that I run called the Lighthouse Project, which is an emotional healing program. And so I just I'm a big believer that once you those that know, those that come into a knowing must teach. We have a duty. It's called being a lighthouse. Think about a lighthouse shining light on rocks so that other people traveling don't crash. So I've spent my life not only ministering to at-risk youth, ministering to all, I call them all my exes, ex-bangers, ex-drug addicts, ex-prostitutes, but speaking to broken, hurting people and saying, look, here's what worked for me. I'm not an expert, I'm not a pro, but here's what worked for me. And I think that sometimes is one of the most powerful ways we can teach is through our own experience. Yeah.
That's amazing. Um, so through that healing journey and realizing, yeah, okay, I have this, and now this is what I can offer to people. This is what I have. Like, you're just kind of open to, this is what I have, this is what I can give.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess in a practical sense too, um, did you have to do extra training, I guess, to get into some of the fields that
Mm-hmm.
you were entering, knowing that, okay, this is kind of like the big vision of this restorative ministry that I have in mind?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I went to Bible college and got my bachelor's of religious education there, and also got a double degree in music. I've always had a passion for theater. I did a lot of musical theater courses and stumbled into film and just fell in love and did a lot of great college, like online courses, training. Was on set for several years, just being in the shadows learning. And I think sometimes, people want to run before they can before they can even crawl or walk. And so I learned. I became a sponge. And so what was interesting was that I found myself at this crossroads. So here's this sort of Bible college graduate, should be going into some sort of like ministry type thing, has a skill and a passion for music and theater and film. How, where does this, how do you make this all happen? I felt like there was no place for me. I I looked around at the landscape of my country, and I felt like I was uh, a rogue, on the fringe. There wasn't a lot of people that either A, were doing media ministry or arts ministry or understood it for what I knew it could be. And
Hmm.
so it was interesting because in many spaces I felt like the first of my kind.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, um, for sure. And I guess along that line, I kind of have like two sides to this question, but um, you were wanting to use these ministries to reach those specific groups that were dear to your heart.
Hmm.
And then you're also dealing with the fact that you're kind of like pioneering something, or it's very innovative for the field of ministry. So I guess I wanted to ask, what were your biggest obstacles? Yeah, it's a two-part question, I guess. What were your biggest obstacles in going back to the people that you really felt you could help? And then
Hmm.
also trying to launch this ministry that was so new. How did you kind of make people aware that this was a resource that they could really use?
Yeah. So I found I have such a burden for community and for at-risk youth and troubled youth. And so I just started to appeal to community groups and children's missions groups about how I could come alongside, how I could help by bringing art to their programming. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the big organizations that I ended up being a part of was Toronto City Mission, and they're the oldest missions organization for children, like in Canada, period. And so it was really cool that I could bring my artistic, muscle and create stuff like that for them. That started to spin out into other programming in other communities. And then I started to get into the school system. And then there was a direct, cool connection. And then, oh gosh, and then I started to run arts camps. So running
Wow.
arts camps every summer,
Yeah.
and community programming and being in schools, arts programming. And then that actually morphed into like assemblies where I actually would do a theatrical presentation for schools, and that just took off. And there was this cool connection that I started to see that the most broken and the most wounded were the most gifted, like
Hmm.
the most artistic and brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
And so where they would clam up and shut down and like block the world out, art was the one thing that they'd lower their cage for, you know, like their wall for, that they
Mm-hmm.
would come out, um, and they would sing and they would act and they would write and do poetry, like on a level that you're thinking like you've studied this, like you know, like you've
Yeah.
been doing this all your life. And I just saw a direct connection. I knew that I had to give them a platform, give them a stage, a space where they can heal. And so I launched my for-profit and not-for-profit companies. My for-profit is Exusa Media Group, which is a theater company, and we do theater and media on that side. And then EMG Education, where we're in the school systems doing work, but just giving them space to talk about the things that matter to them and create in a way that was healing. And it's been an amazing journey. I've seen hundreds and hundreds of teenagers come through this cool ministry, and the healing that they've experienced has been incredible.
That's amazing. And I love how there was actually a link between you
It's
trying to help
interesting.
and
Yeah,
then actually presenting this to the world. I never knew the link would be so strong. So thank you so
yeah,
much for sharing that.
yeah.
That's
And so
amazing.
now it's cool because you know when people were seeing film, when they see films that I do, or see a play that I do, 9 times out of 10, it's populated by and casted by at-risk youth or kids that have crazy stories,
Hmm.
you know. And so they're acting from a very real place. They're singing from a very real place. It's not pretending for them.
What were you hoping to offer to the world through these ministries that you started? And I kind of wanted to add to this, what was the biggest surprise for you in starting this ministry?
Um, what was I hoping to offer to the world? Um, I wanted to offer an authentic voice that actually spoke and represented the demographic that the church claims that they are after or have a heart for. And it was interesting because I was just so tired of watching um, people in the church talk about, oh, we've got to reach the lost, we've got to reach the hurting, we've got to reach the broken. And I'm like, well, nobody's moving.
Mhm,
We're just
mhm,
doing a lot of talking.
mhm,
And I wanted to not only reach them with something that I knew, like arts is that thing. It's like the Pied Piper. Kids just gravitate. They don't want to hear. They're so tired of the talk, 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 talk. But show them a movie, have a discussion afterwards, ask them to do a skit. Hey, let's write something about what you've been through. Anyone here been in a gang? Come out of a gang? What did it take? Like let's create something about that. And so engaging them that way, but then sharing that and saying, hey, church, can I show you something? This is what it really looks like out there,
mhm,
and this is how we can make a difference out there. And so all of the stuff that I write has this cool redemption or
mhm,
this narrative of like where the church could be a really good resource or place of rescue. I feel like we need to do more of being the church than doing church.
mhm,
And
mhm.
I'm just committed to loving those people on the fringe. Like because I feel like I'm still one of them, to be quite honest.
Mm.
Mhm.
But I also love the fact that you get to show them what a redeemed version of that looks like. Because
Exactly.
kind of like you're saying, they probably see the church as like all these perfect people, and
Hmm.
it's really, we're all redeemed people, but it's really hard if they feel like they don't measure up or they can't even identify. And it
Exactly.
and they need to know, what does it look like to be redeemed? Like, can I actually be that person that I hope I can
Listen,
be?
and so just one more thing, and so the ministries, and we could talk about all the different things that I do, but all of them are not geared. I don't want perfect people. Like I gear my ministry for the most broken, the most hurting, people that have come out of the most stuff, that feel the most stuck. I just feel like there's got to be ministry for those people, people that you would think, you really want me, and I'm like, yeah, I really
Yeah.
want you, and so even the Lighthouse Project, it's a 12-week program. It's online, so you
Mm.
can anyone can do it from anywhere in the world, and it literally walks you step by step through the process of emotional healing.
Mm.
And it's like, bring all of the broken pieces and let's see what God will do with all of it.
That's so beautiful.
Mhm.
Um, so to talk about that too, because I do want the audience to know the different types of ministries that you have. So I don't know if you mind sharing with us, what are the different projects you've started, and what initiatives did you take to actually create those brands?
Yeah, so the first thing is Exousia Media Group, and it's a Christian theater and media company, and we do plays, theater proper. We do films, short films. We're working on a web series right now, so we do lots of creative content. EMG Education is an educational theater company. We work with students and children in the community. So that looks like assemblies, it looks like after school programming, it looks like arts camps in the summer, March break camps, anytime that we can gather kids, we go into low income areas and just like love on these kids and bring like the best dancers, the best singing instructors, the best actors, people that will take time off of their schedule in the city and just pour into these kids and just kind of ignite them and see what they gravitate to. It's definitely for someone who's like, I think I like art, I don't know, and like here's a
Yeah,
buffet,
yeah.
right? Like, what do you like? Instruments, music, singing, dancing, acting, like, spoken word, all of it. And so that's the not for profit. And then I have a speaking ministry, which is
Mm.
just Cheryl Nembhard speaking, and that I've been really blessed to be able to travel, all of North America with that, and that has its own life. People just book me to speak, share my story,
Yeah.
um, and I'm really called. I feel like if anyone's interested, I don't want to be like widespreading. I'm very focused on women and youth.
Mm.
That's really
Mhm.
where my heart is for that.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and then I've got the Lighthouse Project, which is an emotional healing program, and that's a virtual online program. All of that's on the website there. I do one-on-one coaching for people that feel like they just need a bit more intentional, like um, a journey partner to kind of work through stuff. Um, and then outside of that, I now sit on boards and do intentional work with other organizations. So one of them is World Vision, Power of Her. I
Wow.
sit on the steering committee for that, and that is reaching now girls. It's really an incredible, female focused initiative, reaching girls for education, for health, and to help against gender-based violence. And
Mhm.
so that's global, and that's
Mhm.
really cool. And then Brave Global is an incredible organization that I'm also a part of,
Mhm.
and I sit on the board for that. and that is for at-risk girls ages 12 to 18. And Brave Global really focuses, oh my goodness, they have chapters in India, in Congo, in
Wow.
all throughout the States, in Canada, and they really are trying, their focus is to kind of really grab these girls, these at the fringe, high risk girls, and prevent them from being trafficked, from
Mhm.
being uh, picked up or abused in any way. It's
Yeah.
about instilling value, instilling worth,
Mhm.
healing, letting them know that they are incredibly gifted, that they have a purpose, and that their destiny is just being like it's their story's just being written, right?
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mhm.
thanks for sharing that because I know the audience will be very curious what you're into. And like I said, Cheryl's into so many ministries, so she's really taking her story and her purpose and creating a lot of impact in so many different ways. And if some of you listening today feel like you could even utilize some of those resources, I
Mhm.
definitely encourage you. We'll have her site, of course, in the show notes. And
Mhm.
I guess we're already at our last question, which makes me sad because I really enjoyed this
Yeah, and
discussion.
I forgot a ministry, and if I don't say the ministry, I'm gonna get in trouble. I gotta say
Oh,
one more.
yeah, go ahead.
Involved with a great initiative called Women Speaker Collective, and
Okay.
that is for women who have come out. They're growing, they're getting some maturity, some depth, and they feel like they're called to speak, but
Ah,
they don't know the first steps of that. They don't feel like they have a voice, or maybe they felt like their voice has been silenced, and they're looking
mm,
for a place where they can be affirmed, they
yeah.
can be taught and instructed. And this is for anyone that feels like they have a story to tell
Mm,
or share. They feel like a platform is being formed around them, like they're like, something's happening, or they feel like, man, my heart is really beating to speak, right?
mm.
So it's about giving women their voice.
Very cool.
Yeah, I just,
Yeah, that's awesome as
okay.
well.
And check. There we go.
Yeah. So I guess finally, I wanted to ask you, what do you value the most about the leadership position that you find yourself in today?
Yeah. Um, it's so funny. I was speaking with a friend of mine recently, and she brought something to my attention that I wasn't quite aware of. I felt it, but I wasn't sure. And she says, I've kind of combed from one corner of our nation to the other, and I don't know of. Uh, they said any, but I'm not sure, but of many, African Canadian,
Hmm.
Black female leaders of faith in the nation,
Yeah.
like a voice of faith, like a national leader. And I was like, what? And I couldn't believe it. And I tried to check and check, and I was like, yeah, it's a ghost town. And so why am I saying that? Because I feel like my duties as a leader are always split in two, always
Mm,
split in two. I feel like there's two worlds that I live in, two platforms that I'm on, two campaigns I'm always advocating. One is obviously being a female in this nation, being a female speaker, preacher. I would say, people love to be more comfortable by saying, oh, she's just a speaker, teacher. No, I'm a preacher called by God. And you're just going to have to get used to that.
mm,
And the other is being a Black female,
mhm,
with a national platform to speak and to call things out and affect change. I feel like I have to. I'm always advocating,
hmm,
and that can be a bit exhausting. I feel like I'm always
mm,
advocating for equality, for equity, advocating for diversity and inclusion.
mm,
If it's not to to not be diminished in one area, it's to not be ignored in the other or
mm,
disrespected in the other. And
mhm,
so I don't know if that answers your question, but as a leader, there's some wonderful pluses of that. But because I am a Black female, it feels more like a weight, like a
Mm.
responsibility. And I feel like I need to be honest with that, because we want to talk about all the wonderful, amazing people that are blazing trails, but it takes so much muscle, hun,
Mm.
to blaze this trail, to
Yeah.
carve down trees, to make it easier for your generation and all of you incredibly bright people that are coming up, that are going to take over this nation. Somebody had to take the blows first. And and
Mm.
it's been an interesting journey, one I'm so thankful for, so
Mhm.
privileged to be a part of. But yeah, it's to be the only female in a room, or to be the only black female in a room, or to be the only black, period. Like, there's always something.
Yeah.
There's always something that I'm the only of, right?
Yeah.
Um, I can't wait to see that change. Yeah.
I actually love your answer just because, I mean, some of you didn't see this, but when Cheryl came to my city, um, one of my friends got
Listen,
very excited about that. And I
let's
remember
talk
before she was
about it.
coming, she was like, "Yeah, sister's gonna talk. We have to make sure we do a photo shoot with all of them." And it was actually pretty surreal moment because you were in
Can
that
I can I
picture as
talk about
well.
that for 30 seconds? May I?
Yeah, for sure. Go
Okay.
ahead.
I feel like if anyone is still hanging into this conversation, they gotta hear this part. When I go to speak, and mind you, my ministry is still growing and forming, and so it gets busier and busier, and I'm so thankful. Like, hey, book me, right? Like, I'm here ready to work. And so when I travel, many times I go by myself. I'm in a hotel, I'm prepping, I'm, just praying, reflecting, whatever I'm going to say. Then the moment happens, you share, you try to be a super impactful, make a really strong impact, and have it touch hearts, change lives, literally be a world transforming moment for someone. And then you get on a plane, you go home. Well, this particular time, I was in Saskatoon. I was not expecting anything out of the ordinary, sis. And I got on that stage. First of all, I was greeted by people. The love was overwhelming. It was super authentic. But afterwards, two ladies, young ladies, said, "We want to do something very special with you. Can you come with us?" And I said, "Absolutely." And they said, "We want to take a picture." Well, that's a normal thing, taking pictures. I do that all the time. And I've written a book. Oh my gosh, I didn't even talk about that. I'm going to slap my wrist for that. Wrote a book. So I have a book that I authored called Brave, This Is Us. And
Yes.
it's an interactive journal for girls ages 12 to 18, and it's available on any platform. Please feel free to grab it if you need it, if you want to, just talk to your young girls about their identity and worth. Anyways, so I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to take a picture, sign some books, business as usual. I got out into the lobby and came around the corner, and there was at least 40 to 50, like, black women,
Yeah.
glow, glowing faces, like, just lit up, so excited to see me.
We
The,
were so
rece-
excited.
the reception, I heard my sister, "I'm so proud of you, my family, hey cuz," like, all kind. And we took this picture, and to everyone else, people stopped because it was incredible to see all of these black faces. And mind you, Black History Month had just ended, and
Yes.
we were at the start, like literally the next day, the start of Women's History Month. It was
Yes.
this beautiful intersection.
Hmm.
Well, what you didn't know is that I'm smiling in the photo, but I literally was crying tears of joy. Like, I had to,
Wow.
yeah, I stepped away. It was so emotional for me,
I did not,
because,
yeah.
yeah,
I know
because
for us it was special because we're
it's
like, we're just
so
so proud of
special.
you. And then we've been going to that church as, I guess, as the minorities for a very long time. We never thought to actually do a collective picture like that, just to, you know, celebrate ourselves. But it made more sense with you there because it was cool to see that you represented in that moment how we could be part of like that church
Absolutely,
ministry, how we could also be
absolutely.
part of what the body of Christ is doing. And it's not that the
Absolutely.
pastors have never been open to us sharing with them and
But
being
just what's
part.
possible, like just someone
Yeah.
showing you what's possible. And I was just about to take the photo and someone whispered in my ear, "You make us so proud." And I was done. I was like, I'm gonna have a meltdown in this place in Saskatoon. This will be the day that Cheryl Nembhard turned into a puddle of H2O. But you know what? It was that moment that reaffirmed for me that Maya Angelou said this. I come into the room as one, but I stand as 10,000.
Mm.
And it's this whole idea that I bring with me an entire generation of women. I bring with me an ethnicity of women, a group of women, culture of women, like all of it. It's a big responsibility, and I don't take it lightly. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to say too, thank you, Cheryl, for doing that. And obviously, in light of what you said, being a leader, it is that twofold of the positive and the responsibility. Yeah, like great power comes with great responsibility. So I think for you moving forward, just to know that we all are still so excited about you, that we support you. I'm sure someone will try and get you to come back. And that just like prayerfully to support you too as you move forward in your ministry in any capacity. I know Paula was one of the ladies that organized that, and like we're all like so excited about whatever you're doing. So I knew from then I would follow you and see what you're up to with your ministry, and that's why I was so excited to do
Oh,
this
I'm
interview.
listen. This
So
is you're not getting rid of me that easily. We're gonna do more stuff together.
yay, I'm so excited. So I wanted to say for the audience today, I'm just really touched by you being willing to do this, you being willing to share your story. I definitely don't take it for granted. I know you do so many, as you all heard, so many ministries and so many things. So this is really special for me. And I know that you will all get a lot of value out of this too. So
Mhm.
we'll have links to all of Cheryl's activities in the show notes below. Thank you so much again, Cheryl.
Thank you. Oh my goodness, such a pleasure.